Here, where the river Lubilash is the border between Katanga and the breakaway diamond mining state of Kasai, is the point where several hundred hastily recruited soldiers of Albert Kalonji crossed into Kasai on Saturday, heading for Bakwanga to fight Lumumba's forces. You can see the sort of country these so-called armies are operating in. Miles of forest, bush and scrub as far as the eye can see. Further north on this border, Lumumba's troops are reported gathering ready to attack Katanga. But President Chombe says that all his roads and bridges on the frontier have been blown up or mined, like this railway bridge, the key crossing point on the frontier. Near the border is the little town of Kanyama, one of the many points where the Katanga army is strung out along the border and where the UN forces have a detachment too. We flew into the Kanyama landing strip. From the air, it looks like a cricket pitch laid out in the middle of the bush. I was met by Belgian settlers wearing the armbands of their own Corps Volonté, CV, a kind of home guard to back up the Katanga army against invasion by Lumumba. They drove me into Kanyama, a one-shop, one-garage place. Commandant, what exactly does the Corps Volonté do?
The Corps Volontaire is incorporated to the Katangese army.
How many men have you got under your command?
Average 50 Europeans and 10 natives.
How many weapons have you, what sort of weapons have you got?
All kinds of weapons. We are very strong in weapons.
Machine guns?
Machine guns, anything.
Where do you get them from?
All from Katangese army.
And what do your men, those in the Corps Volonté, what do they do normally?
Normally, they are all farmers.
They're Belgian settlers?
Belgian settlers.
What
yes,
sort of farming?
Cattle breeders and tobacco farmers.
Are you going to stay here?
Yes, we hope so.
Do you think that Mr. Lumumba will try to attack Katanga?
We hope he attacks us because we will kill him.
This is Madame Doplinter, wife of the commandant of the Corps Volonté at Kanyama. How long have you been in the Congo, Madame Doplinter?
33 years.
33 years?
Yes.
And when were you last in Belgium?
13 years ago.
Do you want to go back again?
No, never.
Why not?
Because they've let us down in Europe. England, Belgium, France, everyone.
Why has England let you down?
Because they voted against us at New York's conference, UNO's conference.
Will you stay here?
If we can stay, we'll stay.
Will you stay in Katanga if Mr. Lumumba takes it over?
I think it won't be possible.
Why are you so sure?
Because it doesn't very much like Europeans as to be able to stay.
But why do you think Mr. Lumumba will not be able to take over Katanga?
Because we are ready to just shoot him.
With a Belgian officer of the Katanga army in Kanyama, I studied the map of Katanga. The 1,000 or so men in Chombe's army have to defend a territory about the size of France. My 500-mile flight up from Elisabethville, the capital, had taken me first northwest over Kamina, the huge airbase now under UN control, where we were forbidden to land or film. Then on up to Kanyama, near the border. The Katanga army, formerly men of the Force Publique, is scattered up and down the long border in tiny sections. This one at Kanyama had been out on border patrol and was practicing getting ready to go out again. They can hardly be described as crack troops. though they do still have some Belgian officers, which is an advantage the Katanga army has over Mr. Lumumba's. And at the Catholic Mission School in this tiny town of Kanyama, near the northern border of Katanga, the United Nations contingent has its headquarters, and it's an Ethiopian company commanded by Captain Makonnen.
Yes.
How many men in your company, Captain?
180.
And how many Ethiopian troops are there in Katanga altogether?
1 battalion.
That's several hundred men.
Yes.
And what do you do here in Kanyama? What do your men do?
Well, we have our own mission is to station here.
But what do the men here that I see standing about, what
Well,
do they do all day here? Do they
yes.
mount guard or wait or what?
Well, just to keep the peace of the civilian.
What are your orders as commander of this United Nations contingent?
Well, the United Nations, the order comes us is to keep the people in peace.
What would you do if hostile troops came down the road or appeared from somewhere?
Well, we have nothing to do with them.
But what would you do as an
Well-
officer commanding?
Well, we just defend ourselves if any troops trying to attack us.
What are your orders about protecting the European population? Is that part of your responsibility?
Well, some part it's our duty. If we get a refugee and we can accept them.
What, want to say one of the white Belgian settlers here, for instance, the farmers?
You see, until now we didn't receive any order, but in case of the trouble, we are ready to help them.
Or Africans as well?
Yes.
But what happens if they were attacked outside and did not come to you or were not able to come to you? Would you intervene?
Well, we have to ask our commanding officer.
When I originally arrived in Elizabethville a week ago by jet plane from Brussels, almost the first thing one saw at the airport were the bright blue helmets of the UN Guard, provided by the Swedish contingent. These are the UN troops whom Mr. Chombe first refused to have at all, and now he insists must stay. 1 or 2 Katanga soldiers were also on guard at the airport. The UN flag was flying side by side with Katanga's own new flag. At Elizabethville Airport, I met President Moise, or as we would say, Moses Chombe, leaving to inspect some of his frontier areas. Next day, the last Belgian troops left the Congo. As they made their farewell parade, a Katanga band played Belgian marching songs. Huge Globemaster transport planes of the American Air Force waited on the tarmac to fly these last Belgian troops out of the Congo. Their commanding officer, Colonel Lucien Champion, made an emotional speech to his men. Hoarse with emotion, he shouted, "You can leave with your heads high." And so the last Belgian troops leave Katanga and the Congo. And the question now is, how long can Mr. Chombe last out here in Katanga as its leader on his own? There are about 4,000 United Nations troops here, but nobody knows quite what their attitude will be if and when Mr. Lumumba should try to attack Katanga. In Elizabethville, despite the departure of Belgian troops, life so far, on the whole, has gone on quietly and calmly, with the United Nations standing by in their Katanga HQ, which is set up in this student dormitory. The UN forces in Katanga, here's one of the Swedes on guard duty, are commanded by Irish officers. And here's one of the staff officers commanding the UN forces here in Elizabethville. What is your name, sir?
My name is Major, or Commandant at home, Major to a lot of the people here, Commandant Jerry Coxon.
What are the contingents under your command here, apart from the Irish?
Well, of course, we have the 2 Irish battalions. We have 2 Moroccan battalions, a Mali battalion, Swedish battalion, and an Ethiopian battalion.
But how do all those various races and languages weld into one efficient force?
Well, as I say, fortunately, they're all either familiar with French or English, and then, of course, at headquarters we have liaison officers from these battalions who can straighten out very rapidly any little language difficulty which may arise.
And about how many men altogether are there in the Katanga?
Oh, several thousand. I'd prefer not to say the exact figures.
Here at the UN headquarters in Elizabethville, this white signal truck is the means of communication between the UN command in Leopoldville and their headquarters here in Katanga. A soldier of the Katanga army stands guard in front of President Chombe's residence in Elizabethville. It was formerly the Belgian provincial governor's residence. Now it proudly flies the Katanga flag. Another headquarters in Elizabethville is that of Albert Kalonji, the self-styled president of Kasai, who waits for news of his soldiers' attempt to reach Bakwanga, where he tried to set up his capital. I asked if he would ever agree to join in any kind of Congo Union headed by Lumumba. He said, "No, never. I would rather die." But what prospect does independence, so-called independence, offer the people of Katanga? There's always the danger that they may be attacked by Lumumba, or that Lumumba may stir up rebellion among them. And the administration of their country is still entirely dependent on Belgian officials. Many of those are going to quit within a few weeks from now. Katanga's great copper mining industry, the mainstay of the whole of the Congo economy, is run by foreigners. Yet for all the difficulties which face a separate Katanga, who can blame Mr. Chombe for not wanting to be governed by a man like Lumumba? Can the United Nations force cope with this situation? Well, its function in Katanga is quite incomprehensible. Why are they here if Katanga is to be used as a base to attack other parts of the country whose government invited the UN here in the first place? And why are they here if Lumumba is going to be allowed to attack Katanga, whose breakaway government's existence was in effect admitted by Mr. Hammarskjöld when he had to get permission to come here? One can only hope that Mr. Hammarskjöld's new representative in Leopoldville will be able to give some realistic instructions.